Most people believe that feeling different from everyone else means something is wrong with you. Maybe you're too quiet, too sensitive, too curious, or simply too difficult to understand. From an early age, we're taught that fitting in is a sign of being well-adjusted, while standing apart often feels like a problem that needs to be fixed. But psychology suggests something very different. Researchers have found that feeling different doesn't always come from weakness or social failure. Sometimes it comes from perceiving the world differently, processing information more deeply, or noticing things that most people overlook. In many cases, the very traits that make someone feel isolated are also the traits linked to creativity, emotional intelligence, independent thinking, and profound self-awareness. The strange part is that people who experience this rarely recognize it for what it is. Instead, they spend years wondering why conversations feel superficial, why they never quite belong, or why they've always felt like an outsider looking in. What if that feeling has been misunderstood all along? In this video, we'll explore 7 hidden psychological reasons why some people feel different from everyone else, and why that difference may reveal far more about your mind than you ever imagined. The first reason is that your mind naturally questions what others simply accept. Most people move comfortably through life by following familiar ideas, traditions, and social expectations. It makes life simpler. But if you've always felt different, you've probably noticed that your first instinct isn't to accept something just because everyone else believes it. Instead, you ask questions. Why do people behave this way? Does this actually make sense? Is there another perspective nobody is considering? Psychologists often associate this with high openness to experience, one of the major personality traits linked to curiosity, creativity, and independent thinking. This doesn't mean you enjoy arguing. It means your brain is wired to search for understanding rather than certainty. Ironically, this habit can make you feel disconnected because questioning the obvious often separates you from people who rarely stop to think about it. And that's only the beginning. The second reason is that you notice more than you let on. Some people walk into a room and immediately focus on what's happening. Others notice what's changing. A slight shift in someone's tone. A forced smile. The awkward silence everyone pretends isn't there. Your brain constantly collects subtle information that others ignore. Psychologists refer to this as heightened observational awareness. Because you're processing more social cues, interactions can become mentally exhausting. You may leave a conversation replaying tiny details that nobody else even noticed. To others, you appear quiet. Inside, your mind has been incredibly busy the entire time. Before we continue, I'm curious. Have you ever left a conversation thinking about something everyone else seemed to miss? Let me know in the comments because experiences like this are surprisingly common. The third reason is that you crave depth more than stimulation. Many people enjoy constant entertainment and endless small talk. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you've always felt different, superficial conversations may leave you strangely empty. You don't just want to know what someone does. You want to understand what shaped them. You aren't satisfied with opinions. You're interested in the reasons behind those opinions. Psychologists believe this reflects a stronger drive for meaning rather than novelty. Your brain isn't searching for more information. It's searching for better understanding. That often explains why you connect deeply with a small number of people instead of feeling fulfilled by large social circles. Which leads directly to another hidden pattern. The fourth reason is that you've spent much of your life observing before participating. Instead of immediately joining conversations, you often watch. You study people's reactions. You notice group dynamics. You quietly learn how others think before deciding how much of yourself to reveal. This isn't necessarily social anxiety. It can be reflective processing. Many highly self-aware individuals naturally observe first because they value understanding over immediate expression. The result is that people often underestimate you. They mistake your silence for insecurity when, in reality, your mind is gathering information. If this is resonating with you so far, take a moment to subscribe. Psychology Unlocked is all about uncovering the hidden psychological patterns that explain why we think, feel, and behave the way we do. The fifth reason is that you've often felt misunderstood, even by people who genuinely care about you. Perhaps you've struggled to explain why certain things affect you so deeply. Maybe you've been told you're overthinking, too sensitive, too intense. Over time, many people begin hiding parts of themselves simply because explaining those parts becomes exhausting. Psychology suggests this experience often develops when someone's internal world is far more complex than what others immediately see. The challenge isn't that you're impossible to understand. It's that your experiences don't always fit the expectations people have of you, and that emotional gap can become incredibly lonely. But perhaps the most surprising reason comes next. The sixth reason is that you spend more time reflecting on yourself than most people do. Not because you're self-absorbed, because you're trying to understand yourself. You replay conversations, question your reactions, analyze your emotions. Wonder why certain experiences affected you so strongly. Psychologists describe this as self-reflection, an ability closely connected with emotional intelligence and personal growth. Of course, reflection can become unhealthy if it turns into constant rumination. But when balanced, it allows you to recognize patterns in yourself that others may never notice. That quiet search for self-understanding often explains why you've never been satisfied with simple answers about who you are. And finally, we arrive at the deepest reason of all. The seventh reason is that you've mistaken being different for being broken. Perhaps this belief started in childhood. Maybe you felt out of place at school, different within your family, disconnected in friendships. Over time, your brain naturally searched for an explanation. The easiest explanation was that something must be wrong with you. But psychology offers another possibility. Perhaps you were never meant to think exactly like everyone else. Perhaps your curiosity, sensitivity, independence, and constant search for meaning simply placed you on a different path. Being different doesn't automatically make someone exceptional, but neither does it make them defective. Sometimes it simply means your mind processes life through a different lens. And once you stop treating that difference as a flaw, everything begins to change. When you look at these 7 psychological patterns together, a powerful truth begins to emerge. What looks like overthinking is often deeper reflection. What looks like sensitivity is often heightened awareness. What looks like solitude is often a preference for meaningful connection. What looks like questioning everything is often intellectual curiosity. What looks like silence is often careful observation. What looks like emotional intensity is often a rich inner world. And what looks like feeling different is often a mind that experiences life with greater depth than most people realize. For years, you may have believed your differences were obstacles. Perhaps they've actually been clues. Not clues that you're better than anyone else, but clues that your way of experiencing the world has always been unique. And sometimes, understanding yourself is far more important than trying to fit in. Which of these psychological patterns felt the most familiar to you? Let me know in the comments below because I genuinely read every single one. And if this video finally put words to something you've quietly experienced for years, share it with someone who has always felt like they never quite belonged. The greatest breakthrough isn't becoming someone else. It's realizing you've never needed to. The moment you stop measuring yourself by how well you fit into other people's expectations, you create space to understand who you really are. Your differences may never disappear, but they no longer have to feel like burdens. They can become the very qualities that shape your perspective, your relationships, and your purpose. Subscribe to Psychology Unlocked for more psychology insights, hidden intelligence traits, personality discoveries, and fascinating human behavior explained.